It's time for the Rip City Drive, brought to you by Goldberg Jones. Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Featuring the crazy and often irrational longtime Portland radio vet, Chad Dewing.
I think I was being hit on by a 69-year-old woman. My awareness level of what's going on when I'm focused on work or I'm busy doing something, it's not all there. And then afterwards, I'm like, wait, was that happening? I think it was happening. 20 years older than me.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing starts now.
All right, hard to believe, but tonight at 5 o'clock, we officially kick off a brand new football season. The Chargers and Lions will meet up in the Hall of Fame game. It's going to be on NBC and Peacock, kickoff at 5 o'clock. And then next week, starting on Thursday, there'll be 3 games, and that will launch the first official full weekend of preseason football in the NFL. And, of course, camps in both college and the NFL are now open. It's a full go, and now we're just a few weeks away from the start of the season. So the time of the year that we all care about the most is almost here. And it's going to start with the Chargers and Lions tonight in the Hall of Fame game. And these are two teams who are definitely contenders in both the AFC and the NFC. The Chargers are coming off a playoff year last year, first year with Jim Harbaugh. And the Lions, of course, got the home field advantage in the NFC, but came up short in that game against the Commanders. So it's going to be fun to watch. The Lions, they're one of the teams that I would expect to take a step back because they lost their 2 coordinators. They've had some disruption up front on the offensive line where they've been so tough the last couple of years. So it'll be very fun to watch to see how they adjust and if they're going to be able to overcome. You know, for the Chargers, I just think it's a matter of time until they're competing for a Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh is unquestionably one of the best coaches in the league. He's an all-timer. He's a man with a great conviction. He's got a plan. He knows how he wants to operate, and he continues to fill up the roster with his type of guys. And by his type of guys, Harbaugh's looking for tough football players, disciplined guys. He wants to run the football. He wants to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, and defensively, they want to be physical. And I think with Harbaugh, you expect his teams to be smart, meaning make good decisions in the clutch, make good decisions in situational football, and be able to win short yardage. And so now I'm expecting more from them, especially with Justin Herbert being healthy. He had the foot issue last year. You know, Herbert is so talented in terms of, what he can do on the field. He's got the arm strength, obviously, one of the best arms in the league. He's got the processor. He can look at things and be able to adjust on the fly quickly. And he gives you exactly what you want as a quarterback. Not only can he move, but when push comes to shove, he can stand in the pocket and be able to deliver the football on time and on target, which is the most important tool you can have as a quarterback. And in fact, I heard that interview with Phillip Rivers today, who's officially retiring as a Charger, longtime quarterback in the NFL, and a really cool guy. He was not a mobile guy. In fact, one of the slowest guys to play the position during his playing days. And he was asked about the change in the position and what's needed there. And he said, hey, I still think that you have to be able to stand in and deliver the football on time and on target, which I would agree with. He said that you need to be able to stand in and take a hit underneath the chin strap on 3rd down and 8. So all those other things are great, but you still have to be able to deliver on time, on target from the pocket. Justin Herbert can do that. So I think the Chargers are going to be a force this year, and they're going to continue to get better under the direction of Jim Harbaugh, who is one of the best coaches. Now, with the preseason beginning, what I always try to do, it's very similar to like Summer League. I don't like to make bold predictions off of, preseason play because it's still fake football. You got guys who are out there playing. You've got young guys who are battling for a roster spot. But the starters are not going to play a ton during the preseason. So what I'm looking for is I pay attention to camp. So if you're a Lion or a Charger fan, pay attention to the coverage of their daily football camp. How is the offense performing in the red zone? How is Justin Herbert doing in 3rd down situations? How are the young guys adjusting? And what about the defense? Is the defense out in front of the offense early in camp, which tends to be the case for most football teams? But the red zone stuff, I think, is critical. And I think for the young quarterbacks, I want to know about ball security. Are they turning it over, especially in the red area? How are they doing in terms of running the offense? Are they getting in and out of the huddle and getting their team in the right play? That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for from the young quarterbacks. And that's why I was excited, with all the reports coming out of camp with the Broncos. We talked to Ryan Edwards earlier in the week, Bo Nix, because of his understanding of his personnel and the offense and the players around him. He's getting in and out of the huddle quickly. He's getting up to the line with plenty of time to call the play, which gives him more time to assess the defense. And then he can start to, kind of pick and choose matchups based on what he's seeing. And because you have a better understanding going into your second year, you can process better. And also be more patient and comfortable because you're not always rushed getting up to the line of scrimmage. Now, that's not the case early in camp in Chicago with the Bears, where Ben Johnson, their new head coach, who came over from Detroit, he's one of the coordinators the Lions lost. He's been frustrated with the operation at practice. And for Caleb Williams, who was the number one pick in last year's draft, who was highly touted, he's a very sharp individual. You got to be concerned when you hear about those type of reports. Struggles getting out of the huddle, getting up to the line of scrimmage, getting the right play called, and then delivering the football on time, on target. And what you don't want from the young guys, especially a guy like Caleb, you do not want your quarterback holding onto the football. One thing we've seen in the NFL over the last, probably 5 to 10 years, with the way they're keeping track of the stats, a lot of these sacks that are taken now, it's not on the offensive line or for pass protection. In most cases, it's on the quarterback for not delivering the football on time, holding onto the football too much, not being in a position to make the throw and taking a sack. And so a lot of the quarterbacks are getting more heat from their coaches for not operating the offense the way they want. That's why Sean Payton got so frustrated with Russ. But that's what we're seeing now. A lot of 3-step drops, 5-step drops. Gone are the days of the 7-step drop like it was when I was growing up. They want these quarterbacks. Everything's on timing. They want the guys to get under center, drop back, deliver the football. So those are kind of some of the things I pay attention to. And then aside from that, aside from the daily notes in camp with, the red area, the turnovers, the overall, operation, we'll get here in a couple of weeks that, what do they call it, the dress rehearsal game. And that's where the majority of NFL teams will get their starters out in the field for, roughly 2 quarters, about a half of football, so that you get your starters who are going to be playing every game together on the field at the same time so you can start to develop some of that continuity. And that's going to be the issue for teams that had the high turnover, where maybe you have a bunch of guys at a different position group. Maybe you've got a reshuffled and brand new offensive line. These guys don't get a lot of time to practice or play in the preseason anymore because the preseason's been reduced. And a lot of those teams can get off to, more of a sluggish start when the preseason begins. Unlike the teams that have, maybe all 5 starters coming back in the offensive line, or they have the majority of guys, maybe 18, 19 starters returning. When you have that type of continuity, I think it lends to a better operation. And also in some cases, not every, but sometimes teams get off to a better start. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now for the start of the NFL preseason. And then outside of that, I just pay attention to the injury news. Unfortunately, with camp and the way guys are grinding right now, and then with the preseason games, it's pretty much every day where a new injury pops up. And so what I hope is that, we don't have a situation where teams get decimated in one position group and it can alter a season. Like I saw with the Hawks, that their left tackle Cross, he had finger surgery. There's just a lot of guys who come in to camp healthy. They get nicked up, and then maybe you don't start the season 100%, which sucks. So that's where we're at. So I'm excited about that. I think the Lions and Chargers are going to be there. I was looking through again last night at the different divisions. I think in the AFC, I like Buffalo to win the East. I think they'll be the only playoff team in the East to get in. And I would say that they're one of the main contenders for that number 1 seed to get a bye and get home field in the conference. Easier division. They're loaded up on both sides of the football, and Josh Allen is about as good as it gets. He's right up there with Mahomes and Burrow as best quarterback in the NFL. Out of the AFC North, I like 2 teams to get in, and those 2 teams right now for me are Baltimore and Cincinnati, although Pittsburgh could definitely challenge. If you listen or read some of the stuff coming out of Steelers camp, a lot of people are pretty high on what they're seeing right now from Rodgers and the rest of that group. We know they're good defensively. The question will be with Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, can he blend the desire to run the football, which is Steeler football, with Rodgers and help him to understand the quarterback he is today at 40 plus and help him realize he's not the guy he was, 5-6 years ago when he was an MVP. And if you can get him to buy in and play within the confines of the offense, and then you sprinkle in his ability to throw the football, you could have some good opportunities there. I think the Steelers have a chance as well. But right now I lean Baltimore, and I think Cincinnati will be one of those teams that did not make the postseason last year who will get in this year. Out of the AFC South, I think one team, Houston. I think the Texans win the division and they get in. I think the Colts, Jags, Titans all miss the postseason. The Titans, of course, are going to start a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward. I'm excited for him and the opportunity. And I know in camp they're excited about his dual threat capabilities, but, they're not going to be a contender. And then out of the West, I think you have three teams: Denver, Kansas City, and the Chargers, all three who will get in. The Raiders I expect to be vastly improved with Pete Carroll as their head coach. But I think Denver, Kansas City, and the LA Chargers make the postseason, and those are your 7 teams from the AFC. And I think the Raiders, you're just going to see, as I've said before, a team that has direction. They're no longer a rudderless ship, and Pete Carroll bringing in veterans is going to start to have his team playing smart football. You'll see better decisions being made, and you'll see a team that functions like they know what they're doing. Unlike we've seen over, basically most of the last 30 years with the Raiders. Chaos with poor decision-making, chaos with bad draft picks, bad decisions in free agency, and poor coaching. But that's not the case now. They have better, people assisting in the front office. It's nice to have the eyes and ears of Tom Brady. And then, of course, with Pete Carroll, a guy who has a lot of experience and is an expert at turning a program around. So that's what I'm looking at there. In the NFC, I think 2 teams in from the West, San Francisco and the Rams. I think Seattle will challenge. You could get 3 teams in from the NFC West. I think Arizona, the LA Rams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, that's one of the better divisions in football. I think Tampa Bay gets in from the South as the division winner. I'm looking at 2 teams, potentially 3, but right now I'm leaning Green Bay and Chicago in the North. I think Detroit's going to struggle a bit this year and take a step back because of the offensive line issues and the fact they lost 2 coordinators. And then in the AFC East, it's 2 teams, Philadelphia and Washington. Philadelphia is great, obviously. Balanced. They're coming off a Super Bowl championship. They're still loaded up. They know how to win. It's one of the best organizations in football. And then the Commanders, who surprised everyone last year under the play of Jaden Daniels, who was terrific. And then we'll wait and see if he has a sophomore slump. I don't expect that. I think he's great. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Cale Wambacher, general manager for the Hops, will join the show at 4:20. And at 5:20, he's back covering the Blazers for the Oregonian. Joe Freeman is going to join the show. And I'll ask him, after time away covering football, now that he's back, like what storyline or storylines of the big ones, Dame, the young core, young Hansen, the pending sell of the team, like which one is he most excited to dig into? Joe Freeman will join the show at 5:20. When we come back, Celeste Trapp will be in studio. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
just like,
All right, what's going on, my friends? Very happy to welcome Celeste Trapp from Harem back in the studio. We're going to get into dating with a larger age gap. We're seeing that, not Bill Belichick style, but we'll get into that in just a moment. You and I were just talking about something interesting. I'm going to turn 50 in late August. So here in about 4 weeks, I will hit my 50th. And I don't want a big surprise birthday party. You know, if I get it, that's fine. But it's not something I desire to have all that type of attention. But I have a good friend, Alex Spearman, who lives up in Seattle. And he had a big 50th birthday party back in 2016. And you mentioned something that he did. He held this big party up in Tacoma. And he held it at some old auditorium. And what he did is he made it 80s themed. So all the food when you walked in was like Hamburger Helper and all of these different things that you would see from like your 80s, from your childhood, right? And then inside the auditorium, he had 2 cover bands come in. One was a Journey band, a Journey cover band, and then to close out the night, a Queen cover band came in.
Nice.
So you got to go around, but we were all dressed up in 80s costumes. So I wore, I had a jumpsuit from Top Gun. I wore a Maverick jumpsuit.
I got to see some photos of that.
They're around with some Go to Hell sunglasses on, like the aviator glasses. So I wore that, but it was cool to see everyone dressed up in different 80s type characters. But I thought, man, what a way to have a big bash. Like it was, and there were a lot of people there. And the concerts, the 2 bands. So you got about, a little over 3 hours of music. It was awesome.
That sounds like a great party.
But you did that. You had a cover band for your 50th?
I did. I had a Prince cover band. They were fantastic. He actually looked like Prince. His name was Julian. Unfortunately, he did pass after that show, unfortunately, but he was amazing. He sounded like Prince, and it was just a really great party. And what I didn't do an 80s theme. I did everyone could wear a wig or a hat. It just makes it more fun for people, right? So a lot of people wore wigs, and then I changed my wig almost every hour. So that was really fun.
Gosh, that's awesome. So it was a good time.
Oh, it was.
And everyone that went had a good time.
It was the best. And we're both Virgos, so mine was the end of September at my party, and we had like 80-degree weather. It was a fabulous night. So, it's a little risky, come September with outdoor parties, but it all worked out.
Yeah, usually here, September, usually the first 2 to 3 weeks of September is still summertime type weather.
Totally.
Usually.
Yes.
So that's why, what do they call it? The Indian summer. We like that. And sometimes it will go through September into early October before the weather starts to take a turn for the worse.
But you never know. I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and Saturday it was beautiful. And then Sunday it was drizzly and terrible. Yeah. So I always feel for people in the summer when the weekend has like a bad day of weather.
Well, this is a great way to kick off the discussion today as we talk about relationships and dating, and this time with an age gap. And, in the sports world, Bill Belichick basically being 50 years older than his girlfriend is something that, we joke about or whatever. But last week I was down at Spirit Mountain hosting an event, and I was, I have a cordless mic, so I walk around and I make announcements and talk to people before, the drawing goes down. And so I was talking with this lady, and, we're talking about a variety of different things. She lived, I think in Salem, but we were talking, and, it turns out she was 69 years old, so 20 years older. But it didn't occur to me in the moment, and I started thinking about it on the drive home, like the conversation and the things she was telling me, like, I think she was hitting on me. She was like, she was fishing, right? Yeah. But I was oblivious to it like I am with most things because I'm focused on the event and what I've got coming up, and I was trying to talk to a lot of different people, but it didn't occur to me. And so I was thinking about that, like, well, what would that look like with a 20-year difference? So she's like 20 years older, or people that might date someone that's 20 years younger. Like I was thinking about, is that something I could do? Is that something I'd want to do? And I guess there is no right answer, right? It's like, I guess it just depends on the individual and the situation, or, what a couple is looking for, because most of the friends I have, their spouse or their boyfriend or girlfriend is similar in age, but occasionally, you have friends or people, where the gap is widened, where it might be 10 years, 15, or up to 20 years.
Right. And it's definitely much more common where you see an older man and a younger woman, but there are a lot of women like this woman here. She's going for it, right?
Yeah.
Why not? I myself have always been more attracted to older men in my 30s and 40s. And I look back, it wasn't intentional. And I think, why was that? My boyfriend's around 8 to 10 years older. And for me, it was, I liked that they just seemed more mature, confident, accomplished. I think because of that age gap, they had just kind of more masculine energy to them.
Yeah.
And so that drew me to them. But then as I got older, I was like, wait a minute, because now that becomes quite a bit older. And I started thinking back, like, if you have like a 45-year-old man dating a 30-year-old, it doesn't really seem like much of a difference, really.
Yeah.
Depending on how people take care of themselves, of course. But then you get a little older and you've got like a 55-year-old woman dating a 70-year-old man. Now, all of a sudden, that seems kind of like a bigger gap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or if you go backwards, like a 45-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman,
And
that seems like a bigger gap.
And does it feel like that gap because of the age or how much older someone would be at 70 at that point in time in life compared to a 55-year-old?
Right. I mean, 70 to be 55, which is older than I am now, but I mean, to date a 70-year-old, like I would never even think of that.
Yeah.
But people who are dating at that, the woman's 30 and the man's 45 right now, that's where they're going to be. And, I think a lot of men, when they get out of a marriage, they get out there and like, okay, I'm going to get on my online dating profile. What is my age bracket? And so say the gentleman's like 50 years old. So he would probably put 30 or 35 to maybe 50, maybe 53 or something. Most men aren't going much older than a couple years older than their own age.
Yeah.
And then they, see who's interested. And I think part of that, is great if, they just want to go out and have fun. But if you're really looking for a partner, there's some differences that people need to really be thinking about before they jump in and do that.
Do most people have an age range, do you think, that they're looking for?
Well, you have to if you're going to fill out an online dating profile. But I think if you're just out in the wild dating, you're maybe just thinking who are you attracted to? And now people take such great care of themselves that, at age, people can look much more attractive at older ages now than maybe in the past.
I see that with both men and women. In fact, I was playing golf with a gentleman 2 days ago, and the way he was moving, walking, his flexibility, the way he was swinging the club, like he was an impressive man, and he was strong. Like he had, you could tell that whatever he did for work or maybe he exercised it, he was a strong man. And I got to talking to him, and he's like, I just turned 80. And I would not have guessed that, but it's because of the work he's put in to take care of himself. But the flexibility and the strength and the way he was able to move, I was like, I just told him, I said, hey, I hope when I'm your age that I move and have strength like you do. I was thoroughly impressed.
Right. And, but if he was dating, say, a 65-year-old woman, she's probably going to still be a little bit more agile and, in her senses, because it's not just our body we have to worry about. We have to worry about our mind. And I think there's a lot of pressure put into a relationship when you're with somebody so much younger that you need to consider. So if you actually are in a relationship and you get married, or you just, lifelong companions, that, that pressure of one, wanting to know like why, knowing this person's actually there for you and not for your bank account, right? Because there's always going to be somebody that comes along probably with a bigger bank account, right? So you don't want that kind of hanging over your head, like what's going to happen if, somebody else comes along. Yeah. Then there's also the opportunity for somebody to come along who is younger, better looking, more fit, better sex, or whatever, you have that competition too. So you really have to be confident in the relationship to, I think, be successful long-term, having that age gap. And we're just talking like 10, 15 years, where a lot of people are dating more than that. And that's where it gets really tricky. And I did have a friend that had a 25-year gap, and talking about somebody that, he took great care of himself. He was in his mid-50s. He was dating somebody who was 30. And you wouldn't look at them and think, oh, wow, look at the age difference. Like he could be her dad, which he could be. But the problem that they ran into is they actually jumped in. I don't know if they had the conversation about, hey, do you want to have kids or not, before they kind of fell for each other. But they had a relationship, they fell in love, and she really wanted to have a family. He didn't. He already had kids that were out of the house, was already fixed. So then I don't know if maybe they thought each of them were going to change their mind which is a really bad idea to get into any relationship and have, that idea, because most times people don't. And so after a year or so, they end up breaking up, going their separate ways because, she wants to have a family and her time clock is ticking. And so I just, you feel kind of bad for situations like that. But at the same time, you have to be kind of doing your homework really before you get into it,
Yeah.
before you invest all that time and energy in your heart.
I think my big fear with, let's say I were to, get married to someone who's 15 to 20 years younger, like I wouldn't want to be a physical burden on them as I get older if I start to have health issues or if I have issues with my mind. Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
want someone to
right,
be burdened with having to care for me and disrupt their life. Like that would be something I would have great fear of.
right.
Someone
Well, it would be
having
a
to
lot
take care of
cheaper.
me.
It would be a lot cheaper than a 24/7 nurse, Chad.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
yeah, but I hear what you're saying. And people have to be thinking about these things, although it's hard to imagine that when you're, 30 years old dating a 45 or 50-year-old.
But don't you think too that people's interests change too? Like, the things I desire in life are different today than they were, 25 years ago. Maybe when you're younger, you would never consider dating someone who's older, or that you would date someone younger as you get older. But as you get older, things change, and so what you desire or what you're looking for in a relationship might be a
Right.
little bit different. The old stereotype, of course, is that the older man's looking for, the physical benefits of dating someone significantly younger, and
Mm.
that maybe the lady's looking for financial security or whatever.
Right.
But that's not always the case. But maybe your interests, they change with time for all of us, right? So you might find something stimulating about dating someone who's older or younger based on your situation.
Right. And I have friends who have younger girlfriends, and I think their viewpoint is, they're young at heart. So this is kind of like the age they identify with.
Yeah,
And so that's not to say that a woman in their age range wouldn't also have those same abilities to be youthful. But obviously, it's easy to gravitate to a younger person if you're just looking at photos online or something like that, too. And I think it also makes a guy, it's kind of like arm candy, right? To have a younger woman on their arm.
yeah,
But the one thing with that is, being careful because other women, if, it's a phase, let's say, you're just going out having fun and then you want to settle down eventually with somebody more in your age range.
yeah.
Uh, some women might think twice about you if they knew that you were out of the gate, dating somebody that much younger. That might be a turnoff for them. So that's something to think about.
I wonder what the. It's you probably can't put a number on what is too much. I just wonder too, like if you get to a certain point where there's a large gap, well, then all of a sudden, when I grew up or when they grew up, like your life experience is
Right.
just different, right? So like it would seem to me that it would be hard to connect on, a lot of different things,
So
pop
many things.
culture,
Right.
your family experience, the things you have interest in, what you grew up with, what you didn't grow up with. Like it would seem at some point that would become,
Right.
a part of
And it's
the issues.
and it's kind of a constant reminder that you're getting old, right? Because somebody's next to you saying, "What? Who's that?" Like, "Who's Ozzy Osbourne?" Or like. So you have to be considerate of that as well. But yeah, it's harder to have a conversation, I would imagine, with somebody. I've only dated somebody a couple times, 7 years younger, and so that wasn't such a huge gap for me. And I was, in my 40s or in my 30s, those different times. But those people had to be mature to for me to even be attracted to them,
Yeah.
and more than their age.
Well, this past week's a perfect example. We lost. You and I grew up in the same time frame. Hulk Hogan passed away. We lost Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was a part of the Bill Cosby Show. We lost Ozzy Osbourne, Chuck Mangione, like all these different people that you and I know because we grew up with them. But if you talk to someone, who's a 20-something,
Right.
they may not even know who they are.
Just staring at you like, what?
Yeah.
Who are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Who are these people you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Yeah.
So if someone came to you, like let's say it's a friend or someone came to you for, counsel, who was considering entering into a relationship where there's that larger gap, younger or older, like what are some of the things that you would have them consider before entering into a relationship where you can end up falling in love or it becomes more serious?
Right. Well, I think having a straight conversation about, how do you want to live your life? Like, where do you see yourself? Because if it's somebody like my friend who had a woman who wanted to have children, well, that's kind of a deal breaker before you even get started, right?
Yeah.
So you got to kind of just dive into that quick and not waste anybody's time. But I think besides that, walking through like, okay, well, I'm 55 right now. So, I'm going to be retiring from my career in 5, 10 years, and I'm going to be wanting to travel. So, the woman might have children at home that she can't do that, or she has a job. So, I mean, is he going to support her so she can travel? Like having those conversations, or is she going to be home and he's going to go off travel with friends? That's a serious lifestyle consideration to make if you're at that age where you're ready to move into another chapter and you're with somebody who's in a completely different place in their life.
Yeah. Yeah, the retirement thing's real, right? Like if you're getting closer to retirement age, you decide to shut it down, but your spouse is
Mhm.
still working and pursuing their career. Like time-wise, that could be disruptive as well.
Right, totally. And I would really want to know that this person really loved me and they didn't just love what I brought to the table as far as, the vacations and the gifts and the house, on the hill or whatever, like that they really wanted to be with me because that would feel really crappy, I think, to be with somebody and realizing at any point in time they could, you know, elevate by going to another relationship or if, that man lost whatever it was that he had that she wanted, that she would be gone too.
How would you ask that? I mean, those are difficult questions to
Well,
ask. Is
it's
that kind
having
of
an
where you lean on your
authentic
senses?
relationship, really,
Yeah.
like being able to look the person in the eye and think this person really adores and respects me. I think guys can have an inkling for the way the behavior that woman has with him if
Hmm.
she's there, for the blazer floor tickets and the nice dinners, or is she there because she really laughs at his jokes and loves his company? So, having that hard conversation with yourself and not fooling yourself because of her, googly eyes while you're, whining and dining her.
Have you developed pretty good intuition in terms of someone's motives over the course of time?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I try not to jump to conclusions about people because you can make easily a judgment of a scenario of two people and
I've done
guess
that
why they
before.
might be
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
right? But then you can get to do that and you can actually see some people together and be like, wow, I really see their connection. So, yeah, I try not to jump to conclusions like that. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard not to, right? Especially when you're talking about like 50 years. That's a tough one.
Yeah. We all jumped to conclusion on
Yeah.
Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, and maybe they truly
I
enjoy
mean, that's
each
his
other's
grand. I mean,
company.
he probably has granddaughters, right? Like that's just like super creepy.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it is. To most people, most females who listen to the show who have reached out, they find it a little bit
Uh,
creepy.
and of course, you can see a guy at that age being
I mean, if
like,
my
"Oh,
daughter was dating someone 50 years older, I would have concern.
yes, right." I mean, can you imagine having him over for like holidays and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Uh,
yeah." I think that's crazy amount of years. Even 20 or more is, I think, a tough sell. But a lot of people, look at Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas. Like that seems to be from the outside, of course. Who do we know? What do we know? But they seem to be really be in love, and clearly, they've stuck it out through all these years in Hollywood. So
So, what is the biggest concern? Is it the physical side of it with the health as people age? Is it the difference in, stages of life you're in? Like, what do you think is the biggest stumbling block there
yeah,
to
I think it's
consider?
that. I think it's being with somebody and you're 55, 60, and you're with somebody who is having a hard time getting out of their chair. Like, and like your friend, the 80-year-old, everyone doesn't have to have that life as they
Yeah.
get older. If we start taking care of ourselves when we're
But
younger,
sometimes physical ailments can happen even if you do take care of yourself.
yeah.
That happens when we get older.
And mental is a little bit harder to control. They are saying some studies with our diet. I mean, we can maybe push out dementia and things like that. But, you can't really have as much control, I feel like, for your mental capacity at that age. And yeah, so I think that you would feel guilty, like you were saying, to have somebody that you loved and cared for having to change your diapers.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be handy, but it's probably not how you want to have your relationship, especially when they have so much life to live.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, heck, Coach Prime at Colorado, Deion Sanders, he just had surgery and had a press conference where he had his entire bladder removed to take
mm,
care of cancer. And he's going to be okay. He's got a clean bill of health and he's going to
mm,
continue coaching. But that significantly is changing, like, bathroom habits and different things that he talked about. he was trying to be open about it to say, hey, I know there are other people struggling with this, but again, those are things that, if you're in a relationship, those things become real issues.
Right. And how beautiful, though, to have somebody that loves and wants to help you and take care of you. It's such a wonderful thing. But it also would be a true test if somebody was with you for other reasons.
Yes.
That they might think it's a good time to exit.
All right. Do you want to give out the website or do you want to wait on that? That's your choice.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So CelesteTrapp.com. It's CelesteTrapp. And on there I have date coaching, Chad.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
And you're building something. So you got your book coming. Coaching is coming. Like I see things moving in the right direction for you, which is terrific.
It's definitely fun.
All right, good. I think we got better lighting in here today too, so that's a good thing.
So.
So what do you got planned for the weekend?
This weekend, I love the music in the parks.
Yes.
And so I'm going to hopefully hit one of those. And I am doing a dinner. So hosting a dinner. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. Yeah, I love concerts up at the zoo. I love park concerts.
Oh, they're so
out
great.
At Edgefield, they're all awesome.
Yeah, I was going to try to get last night, like last week, I had ABBA, and I saw them a couple weeks ago in Oregon City. And I brought my stepmom, who's almost 90, and I got out there dancing. It was so beautiful. She was just lit up. She has a little bit of dementia. My dad passed almost 2 years ago, and it just melted my heart. She just had so much fun dancing. I don't think I'd ever seen her dance, which is so sad to me that she, was married to my dad 40 years and she lived her life without dancing.
Wow.
So, so those concerts in the park are great.
By the way, thanks for posting the picture of your mom who passed away, I think you said 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years yesterday.
She was beautiful. That was a great photo you posted.
Thank you. That was at my best friend's wedding and right before she passed. So, yeah, we just need to keep people close that we love because you never know. She got sick with cancer and in 2 months passed. So.
No guarantees.
Yeah.
All right, Celeste Trapp in the studio. We thank you, Celeste. Always good.
All right. See you next week.
All right, Cale Wambacher is going to join us coming up at 4:20, and then Joe Freeman, who's back on the Blazer beat at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Did I spell my name right? I'm spelling.
All right, little Beastie Boy action from Michael Shacker. We appreciate that. We'll talk with KL Wambacher coming up at 4:20. I want to get the latest on the stadium, which is coming along. I drove by it just a couple of days ago. It's looking nice, and they got a big announcement as well. So we'll talk with KL. And then at 5:20, Joe Freeman is back on the Blazer beat for the Oregonians. So we'll get his take on some of the things that have gone down. Boy, what great timing he has. He got out right before COVID destroyed everything. And now he's back right when Dame re-signs with the Trailblazers. And I believe that when Anthony Simons was traded for Drew Holiday, that was the last player on the team that he covered before he went off to cover football. And so he had no one on the team that he had covered that he had a connection with. And then all of a sudden, boom, Dame is brought back and re-signs with the Trailblazers. So now he's got that connection on the team. So we'll talk with Joe Freeman. Really like him and want to get his take on what he's looking forward to this year. And, of course, a lot of different Blazer news going on. So now it's going to kind of be a bit of a quiet time between now and late September before media day and then when camp opens up and we can set our sights on football. And, of course, baseball, everything getting hot and heavy now as we enter into the stretch run. The Mariners getting Suarez back is amazing. I got to give props to Jerry Dipoto being aggressive at the deadline. I don't know if the Mariners will screw it up or not, or if they're going to be able to pull it off. But the fact that Jerry Dipoto has been aggressive at the deadline to try and put his team in a position to make a deep run is pretty awesome. And then the Astros went out. They made a deal with the Twins. They're bringing back Carlos Correa. And so this battle in the West is going to be pretty awesome with Seattle, who is right there. 5 games back, Houston on top, and then the rest of the way. You've got the Yankees 3.5 back in the East behind the Jays. The Tigers in full control of the Central as they have been throughout the entire season. And then in the National League, you've got the Mets and Phillies separated by a half game. In the Central, the Cubs and the Brewers separated by a game. And in the West, where the Dodgers have been struggling, the Padres and Dodgers separated by 3 games. And the Giants have been on a skid. They've lost 6 straight. So it's going to be awesome. Going into the year, I thought the Dodgers would be the runaway based on their roster and what they have put together. But, you know, like we've seen in so many seasons, injuries have derailed. They're still good, and they have a chance to get healthy, and we'll see what they do postseason time. But there are a lot of teams who can make a run. But the Mariners are in a position. They didn't take advantage of their opportunity with that series against the A's, but we'll see what they can do coming up. And they got the Rangers coming up later on tonight, 6:40. So this is going to be fun. I'm loving it. So we got some things to pay attention to before football season gets into full swing. But make sure you podcast the show. Phil Steele, Mr. College Football himself, was on the show yesterday. You can always podcast the show. You can listen live. Just go to our free iHeartRadio app, and you can follow the station along there. And everything that we do is also on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com. You can pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. We stream all of our live shows, but you can also pull up any old shows that are right there, the Rip City Drive, Courtside, everything that we do. That's a good way to access it. Now, you can follow me on social at Chad and Rip City. You can also text me direct. Just hit me up, 360-281-5473. That way I don't have to worry about all the different apps and direct messaging on all the different social media accounts. Let's just keep it simple. All right, we'll keep things rolling. KL Wambacher at 4:20 and then Joe Freeman at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, I'm going to spend a couple of nights this weekend out at Lincoln City. So if you got any ideas of different things to do in that area, please let me know. Hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City, or just send me a text 360-281-5473. I know Kaylee's looking forward to going out to the beach, so get a little relax and rest time with my daughter, which will be pretty cool. So that's coming up this weekend. I'll tell you what's crazy. You know, she was out camping this week with her best friend and their family out at Astoria, and then we get the tsunami alert, right? Because of the earthquake, over near Russia. So California puts out the alert, and everyone I know, grandma and grandpa, you know, Kaylee's mom, everyone's calling me up like, what are we going to do? We got a tsunami alert. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And her best friend's dad is like super smart. And so I trust him. His name's Stacy. Like, he's on top of everything. And of course, it was a big nothing burger. But I'll be hitting the beach. So if you got ideas out there, Lincoln City and in the area, you know, things, good family things to do or whatever, hit me up. I'd like to know. I do want to take a moment to give major props to Cal Raleigh. He is what I think is the Mariners franchise. The guy's a super stud, and I really like him a lot. Like, Cal Raleigh's the type of guy that I can root for every day of the week. I want good things to happen to him. I like the way he handles his business. I think he's a very good leader in the clubhouse. Like, he's one of the guys you want in your clubhouse. He sets the culture. And maybe he's going to be the guy to really lay, the foundation and set the culture moving into the future for the Mariners. And he was able to get, that extension and sign, that new deal, which is terrific. But Jerry DiPoto and the Mariners have been very aggressive. I think they did exactly what Mariner fans have been begging for over the last few years. Like, show us. They wanted the front office to show that they care about winning. Not just being good or being somewhat relevant, but pushing your chips into the middle of the table and going all in to try and win a World Series. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And I've talked about this before when it comes to my teams, whether it's the general manager or the ownership. If I know that you want to win as badly as I want the team to win, then we're cool. Like, if you're going to do whatever it takes and you're not afraid to spend or be aggressive, I understand you have to be smart and patient at times. That's fine. But if you're willing to show me that you'll do whatever it takes to win, then we're good. I don't expect you to bat 1,000. You're going to make mistakes, and it's not always going to work out. But if you're giving everything you got with all the resources that you have, what more can I ask for as a fan? And the Mariners have not been that. They've not done that. They've made excuses for why they haven't been aggressive, but not at this deadline. They go out on the 24th, and they make the move to get Josh Naylor. And then they go out a few days after that and make a move to get Caleb Ferguson to provide a left-handed arm. And then they complete the move that everyone was anticipating. They go out and get Eugene Suarez back. And what's great about that move is that Suarez has been terrific at the plate. I think he's got like 36 home runs. So who do you think that's going to benefit the most in the Mariners lineup? By getting Suarez, to get a guy like that in the lineup and what it's going to do for the Mariners? Well, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Cal Raleigh. Think about how much better he's going to be able to perform and play because he's got a guy like Suarez in the lineup. It's freaking awesome. But it goes deeper than that with Cal Raleigh. And the reason's pretty simple. What was it, like 2 years ago? Remember when Cal Raleigh ripped the front office for not doing anything, for not being aggressive, not going all in, not trying to give that team more help that was needed to make a push for the postseason? He was pissed because he wants to win. And he voiced it, right? Well, what was the reaction from the Mariners? You would have expected, like, hey, we love that from Cal. That's the type of player he is. He wants to win, and we love that type of passion. No, that's not what they said. The manager was like, hey, Cal, you need to keep your emotions in check and pipe down. It's like, what? We got one of the best players on the team who wants to win games and pursue a championship, and you're asking him to pipe down because he's frustrated that the team sat on their hands and did nothing with a team that was in contention and needed more help, and they didn't do anything? You want him to pipe down and be quiet? Why? Because he might ruffle feathers? Like, that kind of stuff makes my skin crawl as a sports fan. When someone speaks out and says what needs to be said, and then you've got some clown that's like, hey, can you keep it quiet, please? Can you pipe down? Hey, calm down. Everyone loves that. When you're upset about something, you have reason to be, and someone's like, hey, calm down, man. It's going to be okay. Well, no, it's not okay because you guys didn't do anything. And then tried to double down and tell us about how, you win the majority of your games and, you're just trying to make people happy. All that nonsense. I think Cal Raleigh, that maneuver when he spoke up a couple of years ago is what changed the direction of the franchise. It's what they needed to hear. It's what the front office needed to hear. And Cal Raleigh was willing to say it. And now in reaction to the maneuvers, including getting Suarez at the deadline, he said, quote, "This is what we talked about in spring training when I was looking to sign here long term. And these were the things we talked about. These moments. And it makes you feel good about those guys following through." Boom. Bingo. That's Cal Raleigh. He's the franchise. Props to Cal Raleigh for calling them out and then, being a leader. And then now 2 years later, the front office responds and gets aggressive. And here's the beauty of it. It may work out, and maybe they do win a championship, which would be amazing. But even if it doesn't, I think as a fan, you can walk away at least satisfied knowing that the franchise put their best foot forward. It's the same thing I've said about Paul Allen for all those years he was owning and running the Trailblazers. He didn't always make the right call. It's not like every decision he made was perfect. He made mistakes, but he also did everything in his power to win. He wanted to win a championship. He tried, and he was willing to cut checks right and left to make it happen. So I can forgive a lot when I know that your heart's in the right place. But Cal Raleigh is a badass. And now with Suarez in the lineup, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of him. Hopefully they've got the depth now and more firepower to really put themselves in a position with their pitching to go out and compete. And it's going to be tough because the Astros went out and reacquired Correa, who's coming back. They've got a 5-game lead in division, but the standings are going to be tight from now until the end of the season. And right now, if you look at the wild card, the Mariners are right there. They're right there. You've got the Yankees are 3 up, the Red Sox who are 1.5 up, and the Mariners are right behind them, along with the Rangers. So they're going to be pushing, and they're going to put pressure on Houston. And now they got the firepower to go out there and do it. So if you're a Mariner fan, if you're a baseball fan, it's pretty awesome. But some of these races down the stretch are going to be awesome because you've got in the East, Toronto and New York battling it out with a 3.5-game difference. The Yankees have been aggressive at the deadline. Boston just 5 back of Toronto. In the West, you've got Houston, Seattle, and Texas separated by 5 games. That's going to be one heck of a push down the stretch. And you've got the wild card battle. The Mets and Phillies separated by a half game in the NL East. The Brewers and Cubs separated by a game in the Central. And the Dodgers 3 games up on the Padres in the West. And if you look at the wild card in the National League, Cubs right now in control. Phillies right behind them. And the Padres a game and a half back. The Reds 3 games back. So we got some intriguing races. But I just tipped the cap to Cal Raleigh. Franchises need players like that who are willing to say what needs to be said, lead by example, and then go out there in the field and perform. Well, what are you going to say to that guy? You're going to tell him to pipe down? It's like, dude, I'm giving you everything I got. I'm second only to Barry Bonds for total home runs heading into the All-Star break. I'm doing a good job of representing the franchise. I'm taking a beating at my position. I'm trying to set a good example for the young guys. Let's get some help. And now the Mariners got it. So that's going to be fun. And, that place, Seattle's a special place. When the Mariners are good and they're in contention, that ballpark is electric. It really is. It's a lot of fun. And I want to see them in a position to go out there and make some noise. And the Houston Astros are annoying, so it'd be very nice to see Seattle get over the hump and make something happen. All right, we got football tonight coming up in less than an hour. The Hall of Fame game, which officially kicks off the preseason. The Chargers and the Lions. And like I said, with those two teams, I think the Chargers are on the rise. And I think they're going to be competing for a Super Bowl and knocking on that door here in the next year or two. I'm that much of a believer in Jim Harbaugh, and I'm a huge believer in spite of some of his detractors in Justin Herbert. Herbert just needs to win a postseason game and make a run in the postseason to silence his critics, and he will. And Justin Herbert's got everything you want in a quarterback: smarts, leadership, arm strength, ability, accuracy, processing. He does it all. And when you have a quarterback and coach like that, they're going to make noise. And then with the Lions, the question is, how can they overcome the adversity they're going to face? Changes on the offensive front due to retirements. They lose both their coordinators. And we've seen what happens to a team that loses both their coordinators. Like the Eagles went through a rough patch after going to the Super Bowl because they lost their coordinators. And now the Lions lost their coordinators to the Bears and Jets. And now we'll see how they respond. But the great thing about Dan Campbell, what he may lack in, certain details, he is a great culture builder. He's a great leader. His players play hard for him. And, he's done a great job of, really developing the type of culture and team that he wants. And they're a tough-minded football team. But that's a lot to overcome. And I just wonder, we always talk about these teams that, come from nowhere to make the postseason from one year to the next. Which team might take a step back? I kind of look at the Detroit Lions as a team that could potentially take a step back this year because of what they lost on their coaching staff. But they still have a lot of talent. And Jared Goff has been terrific for them. They made the move. They got Goff, and he's fit perfectly with the way they want to play, with his precision passing. And again, Goff is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but he's darn good. But what does he do well? Deliver the football on time, on target from the pocket. Period. That's it. That's the most important skill: on time, on target. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how fast you can run. Can you deliver it on time, on target from the pocket? And if you can do that, regardless of what other abilities you have, it makes everything a lot easier. So I wouldn't say I'm excited for the preseason. I'm just excited for the fact that football season is almost here. And it's going to be fun to watch some of the day-to-day stories that are coming from camp with all the different people who are involved. So there you have it. All right, Rip City Drive. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. You can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. When we come back, Cale Wambacher, general manager for the Hillsboro Hops, is going to join us. They have some exciting news to announce. We'll get the latest on the ballpark and the development there. And then we'll talk Blazers as Joe Freeman gets back into the mix and is now on the beat with the Blazers for the Oregonian. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up at 5:20, Joe Freeman, who's back on the Blazers beat with the Oregonian, will join the program. We'll talk with him. But joining us right now is a good friend and someone who is the general manager for your Hillsboro Hops, and he's back on the Rip City Drive. Kale Wambacher. Kale, what's up, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Chad? How are you?
Oh, dude, it's so great to have you on the show. And by the way, it was awesome to run into you out at the We Play Open out at Langdon Farms a couple of weeks ago, supporting the We Play Foundation. The weather was perfect. The golf course is in great condition, man. I hope you guys had a good time.
That was a wonderful event. We had a great time. I wish we would have played a little bit better, but we don't get a lot of practice, so I guess that comes with the territory. But no, it was great. Our manager Mark Reed played with us. It was nice to spend some time with him, and he can crush it. So he was our ringer.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I had a chance to run into some good guys out there, including yourself, and I'm just enjoying the sunshine. But of course, baseball season keeps you pretty busy. How are things coming along this season for you with the Hops, with everything you've got going on with the current season and the continued construction of the brand new ballpark, which is coming?
It's been an amazing year so far. You know, our play on the field, we've been in a slump a little bit lately. We had some players get called up to AA. We had a couple injuries. We lost a couple pitchers. But we're starting to play a little bit better now. We had some younger players that were moved up from Visalia. They're still only 18, 19 years old. So it took them a little time to adjust to this level of baseball, but they've started to play better, which has been great. Crowds have been really strong. We're up about 14% year over date in attendance, which has been one of the bigger increases in minor league baseball. As a league average, I think minor league baseball is down 4%. So we're really happy about that progress. And then we just hit some big milestones this week. Today we announced our first 4 founding partners for the new ballpark, which was an exciting day to have those partners invest in the future, invest in the stadium, invest in our quality of life. And we have a 5th that's under contract too. So we only have 3 of our 8 founding partner spots left. And then tomorrow we have season tickets going on sale for the first time to the general public. So some big milestones this week, along with construction that is rapidly progressing.
All right, that's awesome. I want to ask you about each of the founding partners that were announced so you can get a chance to talk about them because they deserve that type of attention. Let's start with the Hillsboro Medical Center.
Hillsboro Medical Center has been with us since day one. They were Tualdi Healthcare back in 2013. They got acquired by OHSU, so they're part of the OHSU network. They're our official healthcare provider. And they've been a great partner because they activate on their sponsorship. You know, some sponsors just put their name on the wall and call it good, but we do a few theme nights with Hillsboro Medical Center, and they come out in full force, and they really help develop the theme of the night. They help do a lot of community messaging. We've done prostate cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness nights that are just real meaningful nights to the community. And so they've been a really, really good partner. And to see them upgrade their sponsorship, so to speak, and make this level of investment, it's exciting to work with a company like that.
That's awesome. A stranger to no one in the area. What about Miletus Beverage?
Yeah, Miletus, another great company. I mean, you'll find a theme here with great partners, but Miletus, family-owned business. You know, they've been involved in the Portland metro area for decades. Robbie Miletus, who is the CEO now, we've developed a nice relationship with him, and then Matt Nelson, who's one of their VPs, is kind of our lead when it comes to the partnership. But, you know, we started working with Miletus just a few years ago. We were with Columbia Distributing for a long time, and the switch to Miletus has been seamless. They've been a lot more involved when it comes to activating at the ballpark, coming to games. We see Matt Nelson a ton at games, which is super cool. And they're just really engaged. And you know what? They saw the vision from day one. I mean, especially Matt Nelson, he got it before steel was even going up, and it wasn't a hard negotiation. You know, their investment level basically tripled, and they were all in. I mean, they see the vision, they see what this venue is going to do, and their business is aligned with us. They want to bring people together and have fun, and I think that's why it's such a great fit.
That's terrific. Tell me about Ziply Fiber, who is known for their high-speed, reliable internet?
Yeah, and Ziply used to be Frontier. So Frontier Communications, who's been in the market for a long, long time, they were actually a team partner from day one. And Ziply acquired them maybe 2018, somewhere in there. But so we've worked with Ziply for a handful of years now. Their C-level has been engaged throughout the last few years, but heavily engaged over the last year. They weren't quite sure on the founding partner level at first, and it took a little time, and then they came down for a tour. Their corporate office is based in Kirkland, Washington, and a couple of their C-level came down, toured the facility, and they were like, all right, we get it now. We now see, why this investment level is what it is. And we're going to work with them on bringing the Wi-Fi network. So they've designed and they're going to implement a state-of-the-art Wi-Fi network. I think it's called Wi-Fi 7. So we'll have best-in-class Wi-Fi service for fans and also back of house with point of sale and everything. And then some Ziply branding. And they're another partner that does a great job of activating the sponsorship.
All right. I don't know how they like to pronounce their acronyms, but NECA-IBEW.
Yeah, NECA and IBEW Local 48. We've been partnered with IBEW 48 for a few years now. They're the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, so electrical worker union. They've been super engaged. They were both very helpful when it came to lobbying for state funding. They've got some pull in the state government and were willing to kind of help us out when it came to convincing legislators that this is a great investment in our community. And now they're backing it up with their investment. And so it's great to have NECA on board as well. So they're kind of partnering up on this founding partner deal. But again, really engaged people. We have a ton of electrical workers on site right now. And so they see the opportunity to invest in this building, invest in our community, and then create some storytelling platforms throughout with their sponsorship. So the electrical workers that built it can now come out and enjoy it with their families, which will be fun.
That's awesome. We're talking with Cale Wambacher, Hillsboro Hops here on the Rip City Drive. Last time I spoke with you, I think the target completion date for the new stadium was December of this year. Is that still the case?
That's still the case. They are right on time, starting to close up walls right now. So we've got sheetrock going up. A lot of the electrical work is done. A lot of the MEP is done. They're starting the subgrade for the field. So trench lines, drains are going in. The seating bowl is just about done from a concrete standpoint. And I believe the first seats will arrive at the end of August. So we'll start seeing some seats in September. And I believe field goes in September, October, somewhere in that time frame. But it's every day it gets more and more exciting. We toured our front office staff for the first time in a couple months today. So it was really special to see their reactions as we went through the concourse and the service level and seeing all the player spaces now. Every interior wall is framed in, so you can really get a feel for the different spaces.
And what's been the reaction of like your long-term season ticket holders, the fans who have been with you for a long time? Like, what's been their reaction as they talk to you, as they've seen the stadium, be erected right before their eyes, and they've seen the progress over the course of the last several months?
Yeah, that's been a fun process too. We have kind of a selection studio that we've built in our parking lot. And one of the big experiences there is our VR experience. And, I think some season ticket holders, there's been some who they really like their experience now. And they've had a hard time visualizing what their experience would be like next door. And so they would rather, quite frankly, keep their experience they have now. Until they see the VR. And then it's like, oh, now I get it. The VR has been a fantastic tool for us. And so now we're seeing just nothing but excitement with moving next door. All of our season ticket holders have had a chance to come in and select seats for next door. Just about everyone has come in and made that, which has been a great process. It's been a one-on-one process with our sales team and season ticket holders. So I think that's been a fun experience. and now, we get to go on sale to the general public, which would be pretty exciting.
The other thing I was curious about, Kale, have you had anyone from the state legislator or people that you had to deal with through this long process to get this project done? Have they been up to see the progress, and maybe now they start to see the vision of what you guys have been planning now for quite some time?
We've had a couple. We haven't toured anyone through yet. And Senator Solomon has been our biggest supporter. She comes to quite a few games.
Yeah.
So she's seen it take shape. Same thing with Ben Bowman out of Tigard. He comes to a couple of games. He's a little busier this year, so we haven't seen him as much. But so we haven't necessarily toured them through yet. But I think once it gets a little bit more complete, we'll definitely bring them through, and they can see the value there.
Well, I think I mentioned to you, I think I told you this when we saw each other at the golf course. My dad was an engineer. He retired as an engineer. And so I took him out there because he was intrigued with what was going on. And it's pretty neat because engineers are very, they don't work off emotion. They look at something, and if they like a structure, they like it. But he was impressed with the construction of the stadium. Like, he thinks it's going to be beautiful, but he just couldn't believe the craftsmanship, how well done it, how well they've been doing it so far. He was impressed.
That's really cool to hear. Really cool to hear. Yeah. And I appreciate you telling me that the other day too. Our goal was to develop a major league quality stadium that's intimate with 5,000 seats, give or take. As we walk this venue and as we take people through it, I truly believe we're delivering on that goal.
Yeah.
It is going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to feel, I would say it's going to be better than T-Mobile Park. I mean, it's, that's 20 years old, so it should be better. But when it comes to quality of the building, quality of the venue, quality of the experience, we're going to be able to stack it up against any major league stadium in the country. And that was our goal all along. This is a major league market: Blazers, Timbers, WNBA, Thorns, even Winterhawks. This is a big league market, and so we wanted to make sure we had a big league experience, and we're going to be able to deliver on that promise.
I mean, can you imagine being a player and you get, you're with the Diamondbacks and they send you to the Hops? Like, that's got to be thrilling as a player to know you get a brand new facility and a brand new stadium, top of the line to play in. Like, for the players, it's got to be thrilling.
I know. When we took our staff through today, we walked out from the player locker room onto the field through the dugout, and I tried to visualize myself as a player, even though
I love
can't
that.
hit a curveball. Yeah. And just, what that player experience is going to be like, and it is going to feel like the big leagues for them. And that makes me so happy that we'll be able to provide that experience for minor league players. Because, a lot of these guys do make the big leagues, but some don't. And sort of make a big league experience for them in Hillsborough. There's some design features that we did, including how we raised the concourse.
Yeah.
So when you walk around the concourse, everything is elevated. You look down towards the field. Sweet. There's a few things like that we did that will give this a major league experience, and especially for the players.
Now, have you met, speaking of curveballs, do you know Don Lovell? Have you met him? Former baseball player, and he's one of the owners of the Barbers locations in town. Well, he was. I asked him, because he couldn't quite break through in baseball either. And I said, well, what happened? He's like, I couldn't hit a curveball. And so I was like, well, what was your plan at the plate? And he goes, I had no idea. He goes, I was just guessing. But I guess hitting a curveball is tough for a lot of guys. It's brutal.
Yeah, that's why I played hoops.
Well, Kale, this is a great day, man. Congratulations on the announcement of the founding partners for the new ballpark. You said you've got three spots still open?
3 spots left. Yeah, we have a 5th that's under contract right now. We just couldn't share that name, but 3 spots left out of the 8.
Okay, that's terrific. Well, I appreciate your time, and I continue to wish you the best through this process, and can't wait till December hits when the ballpark is complete. I can't believe that you're going to be walking into a new ballpark next year. That's freaking awesome.
Me neither. April is going to be epic.
Oh, I can't wait.
Opening day.
Well, I always appreciate your time, Kale. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. Really appreciate you having us on.
You got it. There he is, Kale Wambacher, one of the best guys. And I'm not just saying this because he was just on the show, but I've talked with Travis Demers about this over the course of time. Kale Wambacher is one of the smartest people in sports I've ever come across. And not to mention the smarts, but he's like one of the kindest human beings of all time. And what's great about him, he and Joe Cronin are similar from the standpoint that they both started as interns with their ball clubs, and now they're general managers. Like, I still can't get over that. Cronin he was an intern. He started out as an intern and then was, running up credit card debt so he'd have a place to live and have things to eat while he was, learning the business and how to make things work. And Kale was the same way. He started as an intern, and now he's running the ball club and was able to work with several people to get the support from the legislator that was needed to get the new stadium built. Amazing. And that ballpark, if you haven't driven out there, I drive past it when I'm going out to Forest Hills. It looks amazing, especially in the evening time. But you can picture it now when you drive by, like, oh, yeah. And not just for baseball, but some of the outdoor events they're going to be able to hold, like concerts. It's going to be great. And, props to Kale for getting that done. And then the support they have locally in the city of Hillsborough and the relationship they have with the city is terrific, too. So that's pretty awesome. And, it's going to be great for all of us. Take the family out, go check out the new ballpark. It's going to be a destination spot, which is really cool. And so, we always want more. We want Major League Baseball. Yes, definitely need that. We got the WNBA now. We still got the Trailblazers. We got the Timbers. Give us Major League Baseball now, too. But happy for Kale. I mean, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, but he worked his tail off over the last few years to get this done. And, man, it doesn't take long. Once they start building a stadium, those things go up quick. It's pretty impressive. Your telephone number, you can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. You can also find me on social at Chad and Rip City. Make sure you listen to the show live and podcast it via our free iHeartRadio app. And you can always find us on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. You can subscribe. And you've got multiple ways to stay up on the station and all of your news, especially Trailblazers news, as we near the season. All right, 503-248-0620. So Joe Freeman at 520. We just spoke with Kale Wambacher. If you got thoughts on Cal Raleigh, I mean, how big time is he? To be able to stand up a couple of years ago and express his frustration with the franchise doing nothing, and now the Mariners are in a position to make a run because they got busy at the deadline. It's pretty cool. And, this is how I am when it comes to, front offices or decision makers. There are times where if they deserve criticism, you give it to them. But you got to be fair. So when they do something the right way or they're willing to spend or they get aggressive, then you got to tip the cap and make sure that they understand that hey, we appreciate that. We want you to be aggressive. We want you to try and put yourself in a position to win. So I credit the Mariners for that. Now, it doesn't guarantee anything. We saw the A's do that back in 2014, where they spent money and got aggressive, but they came apart at the seams in that wild card game against the Royals. But you applaud the effort to go against the grain and do something you're unaccustomed to and get aggressive. And that's what fans want. They want to have an opportunity. Give us a chance to win and compete. And if the Mariners got to the World Series, that'd be pretty sweet. Giant fans, Scotty Bethune just reached out. He's frustrated. He expresses his frustration, saying that Buster Posey has thrown in a towel in the season, and they've lost 6 straight, so they're heading in the wrong direction. The Padres are nipping at the Dodgers' heels, but it looks like the Giants are probably done. And then Scotty says, probably going back to my conversation with Celeste, finding that person who will wipe your ass when you're old is a beautiful thing. I would think so. I remember when I was younger, I lived in the same cul-de-sac with my friend Dayton and my friend John. And Dayton Holloway and John Ramsey. Well, I was playing in the garage. My dad and Dayton's dad were up on the roof. They were doing some roof repair on my house. And Dayton and I were playing on a ladder in the garage. And Dayton, he stumbled as he was coming down the ladder the wrong way, but he stumbled and fell on the concrete, and it knocked him out. But he broke both of his arms, And so he had casts, and this is right before the school year began. He had casts on both arms. Well, me and John and Dayton were all good friends, but I remember walking into the bathroom there at Manford Elementary, and John was in the stall with Dayton helping him wipe because he couldn't operate because he had 2 casts on. That is friendship right there. If you ever wanted to know what a true friend is, the one that will step into the stall and help you take care of business because you got 2 casts on, that's friendship. I did not, I mean, I cared about Dayton. I did not go that far. I let John take care of that. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Chris Burkhardt is around, so he's going to join me coming up at 5 o'clock, and then we'll talk with Joe Freeman at 5:20. You can reach out at 503-248-0620. Let's go out to the phones right now. Jackie in Sherwood is out there. Jackie, good afternoon. What's on your mind? Thanks for calling.
Hey, Chad. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, you too, man. I'm enjoying the warm weather of the summertime. It's been nice.
It's nice. Warm.
Yes, very.
I was thinking back to your story yesterday as I'm leaving to go out and do my errands. And, I have a lot on my mind usually. But today I got my head on a swivel just to make sure someone's not approaching me that I don't know and can't figure out who it is.
Yeah, I know. It was so bizarre because, like I said, I had my tunnel vision on because, my Wednesday routine is pretty much the same every week. I arrive at the club there at First and Lincoln, right there at the Portland Plaza. I get out of my car. I take my backpack and my workout bag inside, and I get my stuff situated, and then I walk directly over to Plaid, which is just a few steps away in the Portland Plaza, to pick up a couple of snacks for post-workout for myself and Luke. And right when I came out, that guy, it was weird because he was very loud. Like he spoke at a higher volume, but he's like, "Hey, I think I know you." And I looked at him, and my thought is like, maybe he knows me, but if I had met him, I don't remember. And so, but it didn't take long until I realized like this guy doesn't really know who I am, and I definitely don't know who he is. But it was one of the most bizarre experiences. The other thing I had forgot to mention yesterday is that before he left, he asked me a bunch of questions. Like he's like looking through his he had like a fanny pack along with his backpack, but he's like just weird questions. He's like, "Do you smoke?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Do you vape?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Are you bipolar?" And I'm like, "No." Just bizarre questions, very strange things that you would ask someone. But the kicker was when he just, as on his way out the door, he opened up their fridge and stole a Muscle Milk. It was really the whole experience was wild, incredibly weird.
That's just creepy to me that he would even approach you with that, all those questions and things. It just, I don't know, weird.
Yeah, very strange. But yeah, it's like I wish there are times where I wish I was more rude, so I could just someone could say like, "Hey, do I know you?" And I just ignore them and keep walking and going about my business. But I can't. I know people that can do that. I just can't do that, Jackie.
I know. Try to be nice, but get away from me.
Yeah, but the good thing is, like Luke said, he goes, "Well, we lost about a $3 Muscle Milk, but he goes, you and I are going to have jokes and stories for years based off of that one experience." And it was weird too because he's like, "Hey, do you guys have a tattoo? Do you want a tattoo?" And he handed his business cards for some tattoo artist. Like even before I left yesterday, Luke looked at me and he goes, "Hey, do you have any tattoos? Would you like one?" And he handed me the card, and we were joking about that already. So it's going to provide years of entertainment just based off of that one bizarre encounter with that weird guy. And the shirt too, like he had a really he was not a big guy, but he had like a big gut, like a big beer belly. But his shirt he was wearing was way too tight, like short shorts and a shirt that was like a schmedium with his gut like poking, like it almost looked like he was pregnant. It was just the whole thing was crazy.
Just wrong.
Yes, a big bowl of wrong, Jackie. A big bowl of wrong.
All right.
There you go. All right, guys, that's good. I'm glad that my discomfort can bring pleasure to your life. But yeah, that's what happened. I ran into this guy. I walked out of the club where I work out with my buddy Luke, and this guy like realized like, "Hey, I think I know you." And I look up like, what? Like I was startled because I was like, I was not expecting that. Usually the only thing I see out there are a couple of pigeons, and there's this little cute squirrel that I give peanuts to. But this guy was over the top, like over the top. "I think I know you. What's your name?" "My name's Chad." "Oh, yeah, Chad." And then he jumped in like we had been boys for a long time. And then he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to work out." "Oh, there's a gym in there?" "Yeah." See, it's called Reinvent. And then everything else was downhill. When he asked me for a tour, I knew I was screwed. I wish that he would not have asked me for that. But what am I supposed to do? Just ignore him? I respect people that have the ability to just ignore strangers like that. I can't do it. I've tried. I wish there are times in my life where I could be mean or meaner or just ignore people altogether. It's part of the reason why my brother got a ranger job, so he could be out in the woods away from people. But the problem is, like, I acknowledge that some people are strange. Heck, I'm kind of weird too, if we're being honest. But I like people. I am a people person. I like talking with people. I like engaging with people. I like conversation. I like learning new things. I like getting into, conversation. I like people interaction. I do. But when you play that game, sometimes you're going to get burned. That's pretty much the way it goes. But that guy, he was a strange one. And in the car, he was driving a Range Rover, and he claimed to be a life coach, which I find very hard to believe. I'm very suspect on that. I'm like, well, what are you doing today? I'm life coaching. Oh, really? And apparently the Range Rover he was driving, it had like a bunch of parking tickets on the outside, like still underneath the windshield wiper. And I'm like, you got parking tickets out there? He's like, oh, it's not mine. This is one of my clients' Range Rovers. I'm like, so you're just driving his car? He's like, oh, he said I could drive it. And then he asked me if I wanted to drive the Range Rover. I'm like, no. But why would I want to take that car for a ride? I don't know who you are, and I don't know the owner of the car. Why would I do that? Very, very bizarre. I don't know what was going on there. Because of Isaac and his autism, like, I can spot, like, people on the spectrum. That usually jumps out at me just because I've been around it for so long. But I don't know what this guy was. He was an oddball. He was an odd one. A strange one. And we all come across people like that, where you meet someone, you're like, they're a little bit different. Even Luke was amazed at his, just his lack of social awareness. The F-bombs, too. Usually when you meet someone for the first time, you don't drop a bunch of F-bombs in succession, but he did. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Keep Portland weird. All right, we'll come back. Chris Burkhardt, we have some business to handle, concerns that we're going to share and see if we can work through some issues. And we'll do that next. Chris Burkhardt is here, and then Joe Freeman, Oregonian, going to join us at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, very happy to have Chris Burkhardt in studio. I forgot you were coming in studio today, so when I saw you, it was a pleasant surprise. You and I have been communicating frequently earlier in the day, so when you popped in, I was like, hey, what's up, brother?
I had to make sure the place didn't burn down every now and then.
All right, we got to talk through this because Michael Shacker, and I mean this as an absolute compliment, I've worked with a lot of people in radio. I've worked with a lot of people at other businesses in my life. I have never met anyone like Michael Shacker. He is unique. You are a unique personality, Shacker, and that's something to be proud of. I've never met anyone like you.
All right. Thank you very much. I earned it.
All right. So I was doing some show prep, getting some stuff ready, and I get a phone call from my man Burkhardt, and he's like, hey, what's going on with the social media? And I go, what are you talking about? And you had sent me a screenshot of a retweet or a tweet that had come out from the 620 Rip City Radio account on Twitter. And it had something to do with Ron Wyden and something to do with Epstein files.
Yep.
Why that would be tweeted out or retweeted from the station account, I have no idea. But it didn't take long to put two and two together and realize who might be responsible for that. It was the one and only Michael Shacker. And so I asked him, I said, hey, just calm down on the social media. You're going to give Burkhardt some type of heart attack or aneurysm. But he didn't stop right away. He continued to retweet because you had gone on and deleted it, right?
Correct.
So Shacker, I'll bring you in, my friend.
Yes.
Shacker is the resident, I don't know, what's the best way to describe you? You would be probably the leftmost leaning person on staff. How would you describe yourself politically?
Left of the left.
Left of the left. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, it's rare that, because you don't use social media, do you? Facebook, Twitter,
Not on my
Instagram.
own time, no.
Not on
No,
your
it's
own
a
time.
work thing.
Like you don't have personal accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a work tool.
They should get one.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting. So you're not a social media guy, but yet today, of all days, you felt the need to log in and start tweeting actively from the station account. So what inspired you to be active on social media today?
Oh, I'm on social media all the time. Anytime I'm on the clock, I'm on it.
Okay.
But today was just there's some big news, and it's going down. It doesn't compete with this show because it doesn't hit until 6 o'clock. But there's big news happening. Supposedly, Oregon Senator Ron Wyden is going to give out the Epstein info that he has that he's keeping to himself until 6 o'clock. And he's going to put it out on YouTube for everyone to know to expose Trump.
Okay.
And he was advertising it. And I noticed it's gone viral. It's got a lot of hits. People are just staring at a slide right now, waiting for this YouTube video to start. And
So
I'm like,
Wyden's going to go on YouTube
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock.
right when this show ends. And he's going to expose it all. And I thought, oh, okay, so let's retweet that. Let's let Rip City Drive listeners know what's going on after the show, and I think they need to be informed.
Okay, that would lead me to ask the question like, okay, I'm happy you're inspired about this YouTube appearance by Ron Wyden coming up at 6.
Yes.
But why would you think that people who consume sports content would care about the Ron Wyden
Because
video?
everyone should be, no matter what you're into, if you're into sports, music, just your own life, politics, you need to know about this. And that's stuff we've called on. And Ron Wyden, isn't he a friend of the show? Hasn't he done your show before?
I have never spoken with Ron
Okay, he's
Wyden.
done every show in this building except for yours, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because he's been in the studios here, and he's gone from studio to studio.
Yeah, I've never crossed paths with Mr.
Yeah.
Wyden.
Yeah, he's a friend of the building.
Okay. Well, Chris Burkhardt, one of your many duties here at the station is you're a social media guru, so you handle the social media. So I just told Shacker, I said, hey, let Chris worry about the social media. And then the best part was that what you and I didn't want to have happen happened because of Shacker's activities. Someone
What, it
reached
went
out.
viral? You got a response?
No. Someone reached out and was like, hey, they tagged us.
A screenshot with the, hey, what's going on? You guys get hacked, basically?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you
Like-
got response. That's the whole point of social media.
No,
That means
no.
I succeeded.
No, it does
More so
not.
than anything else we've posted recently.
The way that I always
I
try
did
to
good.
operate with the station or with sports is like, and maybe you see it the same way. I think people come to sports because they're looking for an outlet outside of the news or politics. Like
Yes.
if you want the divisive and you want the political talk, you know where to go for that. But sports is fun where we can come together and talk about different sports things that are going on or pop culture and have a good time without the political discussion.
Correct. Oh, and then he says I'm doing a bad job because he says that, oh, look, it did better than anything else we've done recently.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is we're trying to build this up. Our social media has not been great, so we've been hammering it home and trying to create an arc and create a tone and all this. Like, he just poured gasoline on it, and when I pulled the gasoline out, there was still enough. He kept reposting it and like posted it like 3 times. You have children, as do I. It's like when you look and you're like, hey, stop jumping on the couch. And you turn around and they jump again. You're like, stop jumping on the couch. And then finally you're like, hey, stop jumping on the couch. And then they're like, why are you yelling at me? Like, because I've asked you 20 times to stop jumping on the couch. He tells me that's why he gets his little barbs in. That's why he's like, yeah, I'm on social when I'm on the clock. Because he tells me, he goes, why are you even worrying about our social when you're not on the clock? Why don't you just go relax?
I love it.
Because I'm always on the clock.
You know what's fun about working with people is like you work with someone long enough, you get a chance to know their little ticks, right? Like Chris Burkhardt is the resident person in the building who you like to complain about corporate because you've been at other companies where corporate gets in the way of progress. And so you like to let me know when you feel like corporate's screwing things up.
It's not necessarily corporate. It's I don't like inefficiency, Chad. I don't like inefficiency.
And I respect it. And what I respect about you is that you also are willing to say things that most people don't. Shacker and I share something in common. He and I are both, we bristle against protocols and rules. So when I can find a way to skirt a rule or get something done without having it be, if I can save time by not following all the procedures, then I'll happily do it. Shacker's always willing to follow me down that hole, no problem. The problem is that when I need Shacker to get back on track and not deviate, he sometimes won't listen to me. But yet I understand it because I'm like that.
Fair.
All right. So now you have a Ron Wyden story. You were telling me that you once did jury duty with Ron Wyden?
Yeah. I want to release this story on your show if he delivers a nothing burger today. Because I don't want to embarrass Wyden, but I got the goods on him.
Oh, you got the goods on him.
Yeah, I don't want to embarrass him. If
Are you
he's going
saying
to do a
that-
good job tonight. But if he does a horrible job, yeah, I would love to tell you this story.
All right. So
That
what
will
you're saying
embarrass
is,
him.
what you're saying is that you lost respect for Mr. Wyden after your jury duty experience.
No.
with him.
I was totally cool with him.
Okay.
No. I'm going to lose respect for him if this whole tune in at YouTube at 6 o'clock ends up to be nothing.
But aren't the odds? The odds would be in the favor that it's going to be a nothing burger, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. But I mean, why is he making a big deal? Why isn't this the guy who's going to save the Blazers and keep them from moving? I mean, isn't that one of his important issues
But
that
that's
he's working
but
on?
a lot of politicians do that. They'll jump on sports and grandstand when they feel like it can benefit them.
I know he jumped on the bringing WNBA to Portland and found success there.
Yeah.
So I mean, he can get stuff done.
Yeah, if he was the one responsible for it, yeah. So we'll give him credit for the Portland Fire. That's good. But my guess is tonight's YouTube channel that you're so excited about, his little broadcast, it'll be a nothing burger.
Well, we don't know that until 6.
Okay. Back to my original thought. Sports are sports. Like, don't we have a news station here? Go on the 1190KX Twitter and start
there
retweeting
you
a bunch
go.
of stuff.
That's perfect for
Does
it.
KEX have a Twitter?
I'm sure they do.
Maybe you should get one.
Yeah, just go on 1190KX. They're the political station. They do news. And you can retweet every single Ron Wyden thing about the Epstein files that you want.
Synergies. We're all in this together. It's like if something's going on at the Brew, we talk about it here. I mean, that's non-sports.
See-
I mean, we do a little bit of everything here on Rip City Drive.
See what Shacker doesn't know is like, part of monitoring the social is I have all my notifications set up for the various accounts, right? And so he reaches out to me. He never does this. He's like, hey, what's up with the social? What's the password to Twitter? I'm like, why are you asking? Because you should know it. It's on, the list that you gave me, but it hasn't changed. So I give him the password, and within 30 seconds, my phone goes, Rip City Radio just tweeted, and I'm like, what? And that is like, it was like instantaneous. Like he was a kid giddy on Christmas morning. Like all he wanted was the Twitter password under the tree, and oh man, he opened it.
It's like one of my kids, if they're like all of a sudden like, hey, Dad, can I help you clean the house? Or do you need help with this? I'm like, okay, what would they do, right? Something went sideways there.
I tell him, I go, stop it. Stop. He goes, you stop it. You stop deleting it. Stop Twitter. Okay, whatever, Mr. Stop It guy. I think that's what he called me. I was legit. I was My chest hurt when I got off the phone with you.
You had chest pains. I was concerned for your health, your well-being.
Peter Weber was going to have to drive me to the hospital.
But I even explained to Shacker where I've actually posted stuff on this station account, and you've shut me down. You're like, dude, what are you doing? Just let me handle it.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Just trust you.
Well,
I do.
what got shut down?
I put up a video, and I did it half-assed without the right everything. And so Burkhart's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
just let me worry about that.
Let me help you out here.
Yeah.
Let me help you out here.
That's how he says it. When Burkhart says, no, just let me help you out. That's him saying, just let me do it, please. So, and I respect that.
Hey, just let me help you out.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, that's good. All right, Shacker. We still love you, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
We got a comment on the YouTube chat regarding this topic.
And what'd they say?
You got 2 comments. Whoa.
Oh, man. Watch out.
Yeah.
He needs his own Twitter account. Wacky Shacky over here just tweeting all day long. I want to see it.
That cuts into my free time. Why would people want to tweet on their free time?
So you're going to tune in and watch at 6 o'clock then?
Yeah.
All right.
Everyone should tune in, just in case. This might be the one day where that story actually takes a step forward. That's been hijacking the news for the last month.
You know, Burkhart, you mentioned Phil Steele. How great was he talking college football for 30 minutes?
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And you get a guy like that, too, where you can ask him about any single team, and there was no stumbling. He knew what he was talking about, and his insight was so good.
He interviewed 136 coaches and spent an hour interviewing each coach in preparation for the mag.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You know what? The one thing he said in that interview that had me the most excited was when he said, basically, yeah, we have no idea what's going on in the Big 12. Like, there's 8 legit contenders in that thing. I mean, it could be just as wacky as last year. It's like that's college football, and I love it.
I love it. I love it. And what do you think about his assessment on the Big Ten, where Penn State on paper looks like the best team because they have so much upperclassmen experience, guys returning off a team that nearly won the national championship. You got Ohio State, who's got to replace a lot of guys, but of course they got talent. And then Oregon, Dante Moore's got to prove that he can be the guy. They've got to replace some guys on defense, and hopefully that reshuffled offensive line can come together. But their schedule lays out to where, as he put it, they'll be underdogs at Penn State, but they'll be favored in every other game. I went through their schedule. I think they could be looking at a one-loss season.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think Penn State is the most talented team on paper, but we know the championships aren't won on paper, right? So can James Franklin get over the hump? They got talent just about at every single position. And, yeah, Oregon's schedule is just so favorable. And to do what they did last year running through the Big Ten was impressive. And this year they have a chance to get right back into that championship game. I think the 3 best teams in that conference are the 3 you just mentioned, Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. And it's probably Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State in that order. The schedule being so easy for Oregon is good because they have a lot of question marks, right? And then the Penn State game being early in the year, you can afford to, hit that speed bump and then get back through and be hot at the right time.
Well, the great thing is with playoff expansion, Ohio State proved it last year. You can lose more than once, and you can lose late in the season and still get in.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, the playoffs last year were great. Yes, there were some blowouts, but it was still fun to have 12 teams. But, yeah, I think it's Oregon and Penn State are the cream of that crop.
All right, well, big thanks to you, and I'm glad Michael Shacker and Chris Burkhart could have some on-air therapy to work through the issues.
Hey, who strangles their coworker on their on time, right? That's off time.
All right, we'll come back, and when we do, Joe Freeman, Oregonian, going to join us here on the Rip City Drive. He's back on the beat. We'll talk to him next. All right, Joe Freeman, Oregonian, going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. Let's go out and talk with our man Pat, who's in Portland, wants to talk a little football. I'm down with that. Pat, welcome back to the show, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, I just was wanting to ask you a quick question about football. Are you hungry as I am about finally football season is finally going to have a game tonight? I've been waiting, I would say the last 2 months, just chomping at the bit, man. Just like, come on, I want football. Everything's been too quiet, man. I'm smoked. I'm ready for it. I look forward to this game tonight, and it's not going to be the greatest game, but hey, at least it's something to get us started.
No, I'm with you 100%. I was just talking with my dad about this the other night. Like when the Super Bowl comes to an end and the season's over, I go through like this feeling of loss and withdrawals, and so the off season's always tough. But this time of year, right when camps open, I start to get really excited because right now I'm totally into college football and the NFL, and I can't wait. I love it too, and I think we're not the only ones, Pat. Football is king, and people love it, college and the NFL. You can't beat it.
No, you can't. And, there's always something going on, on the field, off the field, whatever. And, you guys were just having your little discussion, about all this stuff that's going on around us in the news and whatever. And I think that's really awesome. You guys can be that open to, just talking about life sometimes. I mean, your personal stories and stuff, that really sends a good message to the community that you're a human being, No,
I appreciate that.
Really appreciate that.
Well, thanks. I'm curious, Pat. Do you have a college team and an NFL team? Do you have, like, favorite teams you follow? Who are they?
Oh, yeah. Well, my two favorites in the pros is always been Kansas City for the last 10 years, and I've been a Seahawk fan since the beginning. I mean, but this year I'm going stepping over the line and going to root for the Raiders. And I have always hated the Raiders, but this year because of the way the Seahawks did the way they got rid of Pete Carroll and a few other players, I just said, hey, I want to see them come out and kick ass.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, dude. I think that was a great hire. I think Pete Carroll is going to have success down there, and I think he's bringing something they need, which is real direction to the franchise on the football field, and I think we'll see it right away. There'll be a smart team that's going to make good decisions on the field, and you're going to see the difference. Yeah,
and in college, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there at Colorado. I feel for their coach and, what he's been going through personally and his kid's been going through, I mean, a lot of times these people bring some of the stuff upon themselves. But, we're all humans, and it's just fun to try and see where somebody's trying to make a difference and see how far they go.
Yeah, no question. Pat, as always, I appreciate the phone call, my friend. You can chime in anytime. In fact, Coach Prime earlier this week announcing that he fought cancer and won and had his bladder taken out, and he's going to continue to coach. But his willingness to talk about his struggles physically were impressive.
Get checked out, because it could have been a whole another gathering if I had. I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon Prime at one point, and just dealing with the catheter, dealing with all the stuff that I had to deal with. And right now I'm still dealing with going to the bathroom. Like, it's a whole life change. Like, I can't, and I'm going to be transparent, I can't pee like I used to pee. It's totally different. And she not only is a blessing, but she provided other persons that have gone through what I've gone through so that I could talk to them and get some solace and understand, like, what I'm facing, not just from a doctor, but from another individual. And to have that been told, like, it's a totally different life. I mean, thank God. I depend on depend. If you know what I mean. I truly depend on depend. Like, I cannot control my bladder. So I get up and go to the bathroom already 4 or 5 times a night. But then I'm sitting up there, waking up, like my grandson. We in the same thing. We got the same problem right now. We going through the same trials and tribulations. We're trying to see who has the heaviest bag at the end of the night. Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm making a joke out of it, but it's real. Like, it is real, it is real, it is real. So if you see porta potty on the sideline, it's real, okay? I'm just telling you right now, you're going to see it. You're going to see the practice, you're going to see one, because it is unbelievable. Like, dozing off and waking up, on first thing I'm grabbing my crotch to see if I peed on myself. And it's just totally different. And I know there's a lot of people out there going through what I'm going through and dealing with what I'm dealing with. And let's stop being ashamed of it. And let's deal with it. And let's deal with it head on. And there's so many other companies out there that do a wonderful job, but I'm thankful that, we have a relationship with the pen, and we're making some other products, trying to make other products that to help all of us through. But it's been tremendous.
Wow. Coach Prime, full props to him for being able to speak so openly about that. And, I had so many people telling me, they didn't buy into Coach Prime taking a job at Colorado. They didn't think he was going to stay long. They thought when his kids graduated and moved on, Travis Hunter moved on, that he'd be out. And not only is he back, but he's willing to continue coaching after the battle of cancer and having his bladder taken out. So nothing but respect for Coach Prime. You got to love that. But he's all in, and I've said this before. I think he's in it for the right reasons. He believes his calling is to coach and help develop and work with young men. And he's doing it his own way with his own style at a program where he's been able to put, his stamp on it, his direction, his philosophy, which is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Deion Sanders when he was a player, and I like what Coach Prime is doing so far as a coach. It's 5:27. All right, Rip City Drive, what a pleasure this is. A gentleman that you know is back on the Blazer beat. He is with the Oregonian as a senior writer, and you can follow him on social at Blazer Freeman. Joe Freeman is back on the Rip City Drive. Jojo, what's going on, my man?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm just enjoying this beautiful Oregon summer we've been blessed with. How are you doing?
Same. I really have learned to enjoy my summer times, especially covering Blazer basketball, which eats up, 6 to 7 months out of the year. So I enjoy the summertime, and the weather right now has been fantastic. I was wondering for you, how nice is it to cover the Blazers? You get a break, getting a chance to cover football and some other things. And now you're back. So, in a way, do you feel reinvigorated to dive back into the Blazers now?
Yeah, very much so. I covered the team for the first time around. I started with Greg Oden's the draft lottery when, and then the draft when fans stormed Moda Center or then the Rose Garden after they drafted him and all that. And then I made it all the way to the bubble. And so I really spanned multiple coaches, multiple GMs, and multiple thousands of miles traveled. And so it was time for a little bit of a break. And I had a lot, over the last 5 years, I've covered Oregon and Oregon State football and Oregon State baseball. And I could name 500 things I've done during the time. And so it was nice to get out and do something different. And being out there and seeing what's out there, it's also nice to come back and get another view. I picked, this is the story of my life. I picked a beautiful time to hit the eject button. I missed all the drama. I missed all the trades, all the losses. I'm just going to sidle right into when there's a little bit of a resurgence. And maybe this franchise is getting ready to be good again. We'll see.
Well, I was going to tell you, man, if you got any stock tips, let me know because I'm going to jump on it. Your timing is absolutely perfect. You come back, and then Dame announces that he's making the return and signs a deal with the team. Were you surprised that Dame was signed and returned to the team when he did?
Yes and no. I kind of always thought, and I should preface all this with, I haven't covered the team in 5 years. I've only recently returned to the fray over the last few days. And so by no means am I in the weeds of knowledge at this point with the inner workings of what's going on right now. But I kind of thought from an outsider's perspective and the little that I did talk to people about that, he was always going to come back at some point. I think he always felt a connection to the city he has. I covered his very first draft workout in this town, his summer league MVP run, his rookie of the year campaign, both of his playoff buzzer beaters, his first regular season buzzer beater, on and on and on. So I saw it all with Dame until the very end. I didn't see the very end. And I just know the connection that he has to this city, to this fan base. And he's much like an old school Blazer in that he came to town and he ended up falling in love with the city and building his home here. It's where his family lives. And so, long-winded way to say, I'm not surprised that he came back. I was surprised by the timing, only that, I didn't expect him to be released, first of all. And then I wasn't sure if maybe he would try to chase another championship and try to land on a team, that maybe was closer to contending. But I guess just between the salary and the contract and the comforts of home and most importantly his family, that the time was now.
Well, you just raised a very interesting point. So yeah, you've been an outsider because you've been covering other sports for the Oregonians. So now that you're getting back into it, from what you have seen, whether it's the young core that came on strong last year with Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Denny Avdia, and Tamani Kamara, or it's the new deals for Joe Cronin and Chauncey Billups, if it's the ownership deal and the pending sale of the Trailblazers, or young Hansen, who was brought in from drafted and brought in from China, who is a major star back home. Like what story? Like what do you want to find out the most? What are you looking forward to digging into?
That's a good question. There's so many things, and you just covered so many of them. I think, from big picture wise, I think the sale of the franchise and who the new owner will be will continue to kind of, if not dominate the, everyday news cycle, it will hover over the franchise and the fan base until that's done, just because of so much, the large amount of uncertainty that accompanies that. So I think that's probably the biggest, story about this team right now, and the whole issue of the arena and, the group of local leaders that has kind of announced yesterday that they formed a coalition to really lobby to get financial support and keep the team in town. So I think from a big picture perspective, that it will be the biggest story. From more of a basketball, down in the nitty gritty, I think there's so much interest and intrigue that surrounds Scoot Henderson. And, after 2 years of kind of coming out of the draft as such a high profile guy and taking his lumps, it's clear that it's kind of getting to be his time, and is his time now. Is he the guy? I just can't imagine a more dreamy scenario and support network for a point guard in the NBA than being surrounded by a future Hall of Fame point guard, Damian Lillard, a two-time champion, two-time All-Star, six-time All-NBA performer, Drew Holiday, and a Hall of Fame coach. And so, or a coach who was a Hall of Fame player. And so is there a better scenario for a young point guard to have if he can't produce with that type of mentorship and that type of support, then I just don't think he can. So presumably, if he can fulfill his potential, that is a pretty incredible scenario to be in. And so I think that's one of the more intriguing storylines from my perspective, coming in as an outsider.
We're talking with Joe Freeman from the Oregonian here on the Rip City Drive. You brought up a great point about that support system for Scoot now with Chauncey, Drew Holiday, and Damian Lillard. Drew was introduced to the media a couple of days ago. And, he's not a superstar, but he's a big-time player in the NBA. But what blows me away about him is just the way he handles his business. Like, he is a pro's pro, Joe, and I just can't imagine what he's going to do for that locker room and then also the leadership on the floor, because he can play it in so many different ways. He can impact the game defensively. He can play without the ball in his hand. Like, what were your impressions as you had a chance to hear from Drew Holiday?
Very impressed, and I have been. I mean, he's been in the league, back when I covered it. He was an up-and-coming player and then developed into one of the better point guards, maybe one of the more underrated point guards in the league. And, I don't know a ton about the guidance that Scoot has, received over his first 2 seasons. I just haven't been around. But it's hard to imagine a better pair than Dame and Scoot to be around. And, look, Blazers fans don't have to look very far to appreciate the ability that Drew Holiday has. They need look no farther than that New Orleans series a few years ago. And the manner by which Drew Holiday bottled up, CJ and Dame, and it was just a brutal. That was one of the more brutal playoff series that I covered, from just how it went down and how the Blazers lost and the impact it made, at that time on the franchise. It really made everyone kind of recalibrate things. And I think Damian has addressed this a little bit. It really kind of made him check himself, and he kind of went to the next level, the following season, I think in part by taking his lumps, in that series. And so now this isn't the Drew Holiday event. He's 36. He's been in the league for 16 years, or maybe he's 35. Actually, I might have just aged him a year. I can't remember, but he's 35, 36. He's been in the league for 16 years. So, he's certainly on the back end of his career, but it's still his defense is as good as any, in the backcourt in the league. And, quietly for years, his personality and his who he is, he's widely been regarded as one of the better people in the NBA. And so the combination of those two things, I think, is immeasurably important for a young locker room.
It's amazing. When you left covering the team to go focus on football, and now you're back, the complexion has changed from the standpoint that now they're a defensive-minded ball club. And I really think that this year we're going to see them win games with their defense, with the length and the two-way players that they have, which is something they struggled to find for many years with Dame and CJ leading the way.
Yeah, those teams were really, obviously they had their defensive deficiencies, but where they did excel during some of their better years was on the wing with Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu, the long and lanky guys who could, produce on that end, and then back even further, obviously, the Wesley Matthews and the Nicholas Batum. So those teams were built with an offensive mind, especially with Terry Stotts, but they had a couple guys who could kind of bring it when needed. I feel like this team is much more holistic, built around its defense.
Yeah.
And so it will be a decided change. And, change could not be a more apt word for me coming back to this. When I left, Terry Stotts was coach. Neil Olshey was GM. The locker room had been there had been some movement here and there, but it had been pretty consistently built around Dame and CJ. Well, shortly before I found out I was going to be coming back, I kind of told my wife, there's only one player on the roster that I covered when I was last here, and I think he's about to be traded. And then the next day, Anthony Simons was shipped away. And so, now Dame is back, so I do have that one connection. But, it's amazing what 5 years can do and how much can change in that time.
All right, Joe Freeman, Oregonian, is with us. All right, you're a big college football fan. You're a Florida State Seminole. How's your team looking this year for the football season?
Oh, man, it can't be any worse than last year. I am cautiously optimistic. I think what my team is an illustration of, pivoting completely to a different subject, is the modern day college football with NIL and the transfer portal.
Yep.
I think while not quite as stark of a contrast as the Knowles showed, where they were snubbed from the playoffs despite a 13-0 season, and then to go and win just 2 games the next year, I think illustrations like that on a smaller level are going to be all too common in the modern football because there's so much roster turnover, and there's both an ability for teams to rebuild quickly and also wildly swing and miss on their evaluations of transfers.
Yes.
And have a, kind of a depressing season. So while it was I can't even. It's indescribably brutal how bad that season was. I think we're going to see more and more of that moving forward, generally speaking, in college football.
There's no question. All right, Blazer fans, he is back covering the team, senior writer for the Oregonian at OregonLive.com. It's Joe Freeman. Make sure you follow him on social at Blazer Freeman, and he'll have great Blazer coverage and stories throughout the year. Joe, I miss you. It's great to have you back on the beat, my friend, and thanks for the time. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and you have about 2 months to prepare yourself for the madness.
Is it enough time? No, I appreciate you having me on as always. It's always good talking with you, and it's good to be back. I'm happy to delve back into some Blazers goodness. So should be a fun season.
JoJo! All right, great to have Joe back. And we'll look forward to talking with him throughout the course of the upcoming basketball season. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon, Rip City Drive, getting ready for a lovely, lovely weekend. You can hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City. And always listen live and podcast the show through our free iHeartRadio app. YouTube.com, Rip City Radio 620 to check out all of the live streams. All right. The Chargers on top of the Lions 14-0. First quarter nearing an end in the Hall of Fame game as we kick off the preseason in the NFL, which is pretty awesome. And a light night in Major League Baseball as the trade deadline is coming past and teams, getting busy for this stretch run. Yankees top the race 7-4. Right now, bottom of the sixth in Cincinnati. Braves and Reds are knotted up at 3, and then the Mariners. And I would imagine T-Mobile Park will be hopping tonight with the moves made by Jerry DiPoto. They'll take on the Rangers. 6:40 first pitch. Kirby gets the call for the Mariners. So the upcoming schedule for the Mariners, frustrating because they dropped 2 out of 3 in Sacramento against the A's. But they got 4 coming up at home against Texas, 3 against the White Sox, and 3 against Tampa. So 10 games at home before they take off on an extended road trip with stops in Baltimore, in New York against the Mets, in Philly against the Phillies. So opportunities coming for the Mariners. They close out the season in a 3-game set at home against the Dodgers. But like I said before, credit the Mariners for being aggressive and picking up 3 pieces, at the deadline that could really help them, especially Suarez with his home runs and what he's going to bring to the lineup, allowing hopefully the offense to go and take pressure off of Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh deserves all the credit because he was the one who was outspoken, called out the front office a couple of years ago. He was told to pipe down by his manager. He ends up re-upping, and he's committed to the Mariners long term. But part of those discussions when the deal went down, according to him, was this moment right now, being aggressive. And if there's an opportunity to go out there and improve yourself to where you can have a chance to compete, and when you do it, and the Mariners did. So I applaud that effort, and now we'll see what it's able to turn into. 5 games back in the division, just out of the AL wild card at the moment, but now they got some new blood in the lineup, which is very helpful. So, credit to the Mariners and big props to Cal Raleigh. Telephone number 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That is your telephone number. You can always podcast and listen to the show via the iHeartRadio app and, of course, our YouTube, youtube.com, RipCityRadio 620, where you can access the shows, live shows, and any of our old shows, along with other content on our YouTube channel. Coming up on Monday, Christine Brennan from USA Today is going to join. She's got a new book out, and it focuses in on Caitlin Clark. And so we'll get a chance to talk with her. And we'll also get her thoughts on the Portland Fire. Portland getting a WNBA team back. And we'll see what she thinks about how the area will support. And more importantly, what can the league do to, put itself in a better position for success? And what's up with the vitriol that we see from a number of the players against Caitlin Clark? But what I really want to know is this. We know about the players and their messages about pay us what you owe us. I would like to know what efforts have been made to take a look at the books, to get a real idea of the numbers in terms of, profit and loss. And I want to know what she knows about that because that would go a long ways in telling us, what the numbers are, what the players are being paid, and if they are being underpaid. Because all the numbers I've seen thus far would suggest that the league has never made a profit in its entire existence in like over 30 years, which is pretty amazing. But Christine Brennan will join the show on Monday. Tomorrow, a number of different things we're going to hit, including college football. And really do a deep dive as we continue to get ready for the season. Big thanks to Michael Shacker. Big shout out to Joe Freeman, Celeste Trapp, and Kale Wambacher from the Haas for joining the show. I appreciate your time. I hope you guys have a good night. Enjoy your your Thursday evenings, and we'll get ready and be back for a Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3 on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.